Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 7th of December. Every week I will look at the charts for a few different stocks as requested by you. So please email us at mail@fairmontequities.com. There's a limit of one per person and there's no guarantee that I can mention your stock depending on the demand. Just one other note, please share this video on Facebook and Twitter. The more people that see the video, the more chance we have to get some interesting stocks requested, and then I can share those interesting opportunities with you all. And also just take note of our disclaimer, any advice is general only. First stock we have today is Flexi Group. So this is a weekly chart going back about 2.5 years. I'll just move to a 10-year monthly chart. So we could see here that it had a good run up until 2013 and it's been pulling back ever since. So ideally what we want to see is that downtrend to get broken eventually. Clearly at the moment it's not doing that. So at the moment the bias is still to the downside. Just moving into the weekly chart, so just a little bit more short term here, we can see that there was a bit of support here about 6 months ago, just over $1.60, and that's where the shares are now. So firstly we want to see it overlap this level quite nicely. If it sort of turns around here, it's going to have another sort of big drop downwards, but if you can at least overlap, then it shows that the downtrend's slowing down. And then the next point that we need to see is we need to see the shares go through here. So in other words, make a higher high. So we want to see higher highs, higher lows, that big downtrend get broken, and then we can feel more comfortable with this stock. The next one, TPG. We've got the weekly chart here, so we can see that it peaked in the middle of last year, obviously fell away, and then it's been able to recover a bit of ground. We covered this one about a month ago, and what I mentioned at the time was that there was this zone of sort of resistance. We could see that it was going to be hard work trying to get through this potentially. So my preference was to see it to get through here, get through the trenches. Basically, we can see it got into that zone and quite nicely just went straight up to the top, came back in, but clearly the market was able to push it higher. So that's very encouraging for TPG. There's a bit of resistance here, which is where it's just fallen at yesterday. So yeah, things are looking more positive for TPG. Whether it's a buy or not, it's a different question. I mean, again, we've got more resistance here, so it could be quite choppy. But for the very least, if you're a holder of TPG, I think that we've getting confident we've seen a low for the moment, and especially if it can sit. If it can leave all this choppiness behind it and sit on top back in this area, then it starts to look a lot more attractive. Okay, the next stock we have is IPH. So this is a weekly chart going back a couple of years. The peak in early 2016 fell away. Spent much of this year's that downtrend slowed down and it started to track sideways. We saw I'll just get rid of these lines. We saw a breakout here several weeks ago. We had this in one of our research reports several weeks ago, and I mentioned there was going to be resistance near $6, which is where it turned around. But now it's coming back to another level of support here. So it could launch here, and I think if we do see a move up, that could be another buying opportunity because there should be a bit further to go, at least another 10% upside. How I get that is if we just measure this move down and assume that at the very least we assume at the very least it gets to that 38.2% retracement level, then it brings us up to about 620, 630. At the moment, shares are trading just over 540, so there's potential upside there, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will stop there. It could keep going, might even head all the way up to the old 61.8. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just see if it does reverse here, and then we can follow it and see what happens. The next stock is Presso Pharma. So this is one of those marijuana stocks. So this is the daily chart going back to the beginning of the year. We can see that it staged a huge rally from about 20 cents to 80 cents in the space of a month. And then it spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 months tracking sideways to consolidate the move of 1 month. So that's very, very bullish. And obviously when it popped out here, it was going to have a bit of a run, and we could see the explosive move higher from about 60 cents to $1.60. Now it's come back. They've done a capital raising at $1.10. This should be a buying opportunity here. Nice recovery yesterday in the gap, and also sitting on top of this previous high. So this sort of thing isn't for everybody, of course, but if you're into trading these sorts of stocks, to me this is another buy signal getting triggered, and I'd expect a bit of a rally up from these levels. And I think if it traded under this line, I'd just cut it pretty quickly. Okay, the final stock we have is RNU, not one that I've heard of before. This is the daily chart. We could see it's probably not the most liquid thing out there, so we have to move to a weekly. Things become a bit clearer now. There was a low at the end of 2015, and then in mid-2016 we saw this huge rally on volume. So we can see the volume down there. And then it sort of eased back to make a higher low, and then it's been tracking up ever since. So we could see that generally the share price has been heading higher, and ever since this, I'll just get a trend line so we can see that ever since it sort of broke that, it's been making higher lows and higher highs. Volume's now coming in, so I'd assume that that this stock has further to go. As I said, I don't know the company, but if you're familiar with it and you're holding it, my charting opinion is that it should just continue to trend higher for the time being. Okay, well, that's it for today. Remember, send in your requests and make sure you do the right thing and share this on Facebook and Twitter. And we'll be back next week.